Yes, Geordies, welcome back to another episode. The very first thing I want to say, as always, I hope everyone's well and enjoying the sunshine on this beautiful bank holiday Monday. Tonight is the night, no. First home game of the season, Newcastle United taking on Liverpool. And let's be honest, this Liverpool side, who have done their best attempts of disrupting and ruining our transfer window. So let's go out there, make a statement, and that stadium is going to be electric. First home game of the season, I cannot wait. So anybody that is going to the game, enjoy yourself, stay safe, and let's get 3 points on the board. But we're not here to talk about that. No, because I've already done my match preview. So if you want to go and watch it, I will link it at the end. But we've got a fascinating video coming up today. I'm going to give you my quick recommendations for a striker that we should sign this window and a future Jacob Murphy replacement. And then I'm going to give you two Perfect Joelinton replacement deals that we should be hijacking. We all know Joelinton is a major miss when he's missing. But finally, wait for this one. I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about the next big creative midfielder. So you're probably sitting there thinking, why should I listen to Antonio? Why should we sit there and listen to a Mango speaking? Well, I'm going to give you 3 examples on exactly what I do on a daily basis, but there's plenty examples out there. Remember Desire Doué? Well, I was tweeting about him before he even made his debut. Remember that boy Estevao, who's just debuted in the Premier League for Chelsea? Well, I was tweeting about him back in 2022 when he was just 15 years old, and I specifically said, now that Endrick has chosen his destination in terms of Real Madrid, who is next? And I said, welcome, William Estevao. Okay, that might have just been a one-off. What about Rodrigo Mora, who's currently thriving at Porto? A 17-year-old diamond. They are just 3 of many examples out there. Now, if you put my name in the search part in Twitter and put someone's name alongside it, you can... putting 2 to 2 together, you can kind of work out the clubs that I've done work for. Chelsea. Who said that? Now, this isn't a flex. I'm not trying to big myself up here. I'm just trying to hype up why you should wait till the end of the video. I mean, come on. I am trying to flex a little bit. I mean, give us a little bit of credit. But anyways, let's get on with the video because I said there's recommendations for a striker this window. Now, I would sack off Yohan Wissa. I think Brentford are asking for too much money. And the way Yohan Wissa has conducted himself just really doesn't sit well with me. So the striker I would go out and sign this window, and it's somebody I've already spoken about in previous episode, is Emmanuel Omega. Currently at Strasbourg. Now, I do know Chelsea are in talks to sign him for next summer, but I also know Blue Co, in terms of who owns Chelsea and Strasbourg, love a pound no. So if they can make a profit on Omega, they would certainly sell him. So if you want to go and check out that episode on Omega, I will link it at the end. So there's going to be 2 episodes at the end of this video for you to continue to watch. And remember how I made an episode on future planning? That's what I think we should start doing, and it starts with Jacob Murphy. Jacob Murphy's going to be 31 next summer. Although we've just brought in Anthony Elanga, again, we're going to need an understudy to Anthony Elanga. And what I don't want to happen is for us to be in this situation again next summer, where we're paying over the odds for a right winger because we're desperate. Now, somebody I would sign now and loan him back to Leicester is Abdul Fatawu, somebody I've followed since his youth days at Sporting, and somebody I wish Newcastle had signed before Leicester did. Now, before arriving at Leicester, he'd only made 12 senior appearances, all of those coming off the bench, but his first season in senior football in the Championship, EFL Cup and the FA Cup, played 43 times, scored 7 goals, provided 13 assists, helping Leicester gain promotion to the Premier League. So you're probably sitting there thinking, well, he can't be that good. I never heard of him in the Premier League last season. Well, unfortunately, while on international duty for Ghana, he tore the cruciate ligament in his knee, which kept him out for pretty much a whole season. 260 days he was out for, but he's come back with a bang, scoring an absolute beauty in the Championship just last weekend for Leicester. So if you want to see a video on him, let me know in the comments. But we are going to start with finding Joelinton's replacement, because personally I feel we miss something when he's out of the squad. Somebody that could fill that void. Now, it doesn't necessarily need to be somebody that can replace Joelinton, because Joelinton, he's not going anywhere. This is somebody that can come in, act as an understudy, and learn the role, specifically ready to step in for when Joelinton leaves. Now, I've got 2 options. Both of them are likely to move this summer, and I think Newcastle United should hijack those deals. Exactly what happened to us with the likes of João Pedro, Hugo Ekitike, Liam Delap, Matthias Cunha, Brian Mbeumo. We should be doing it to other clubs. I think the very first thing we should be doing is explaining the Joelinton role, because Newcastle look unbalanced at times when Joelinton is missing. Not one of our midfielders can provide the role that he brings. Joelinton has become a natural midfielder. Strength, power, pressing intensity, defensive instincts, and underrated ball retention. He's not a conventional technician, but his athleticism and mentality make him a tactical asset. So breaking down his role, he's left-sided number 8 in a 4-3-3. He's an aggressive tackler. He has a success rate of 79%, which is insane. High pressing intensity and underrated retention. Now in the defensive phase, he presses high, wins duels, screens passing lanes, supports fullbacks defensively, and that's an important role. In the midfield build-up, he offers vertical carries, he shields possession, and then lends it to more advanced and creative players. Physical presence, he acts as a brick wall in the midfield, dominant in aerial duels and aggressive in shoulder-to-shoulder challenges. Then when it comes to the final third, he's not going to give you much creativity, but what he does give you is late arrivals into the box. He overloads wide channels and supports left-sided attack. All these attributes that he brings balance to our midfield because it complements Bruno Guimarães' finesse, but it also complements Tonali's box-to-box range. So they are the key traits you need to look for when you're looking for a suitable Joelinton replacement. And the first guy I've got lined up, Soungoutou Magassa. He's 21, stands at 6'2", and he's currently in Monaco. I do know that West Ham had a 16 million upfront offer rejected. Nottingham Forest are also interested, but Monaco are holding out for 20 to 25 million. Now the beauty about somebody like Magassa, he can act as a midfielder, but he can also play at centre-back. But his primary role is a left-sided number 8 in a 4-3-3, which is exactly what Newcastle United play. But he's also played in a double pivot in a 4-4-2 or a 4-2-3-1 system. This offers Eddie Howe tactical flexibility. His style of play is lean but powerful, press resistant. He's an elite duel winner, box-to-box midfielder. He has the ability to eat up the ground, win duels, link up midfield to attack, which makes him a natural candidate for a dual role enforcer. Now, these are my favourite things about him, especially when you watch him. He's a high-volume tackler. He's aggressive but clean. With good anticipation, reads danger extremely well. This makes him ideal for systems that press aggressively or counter quickly, which is exactly what Newcastle United do. Now, his defensive work rate, he's a strong tackler with a high dual success rate. He reads passing lanes well, and he's aggressive in breaking up the opposition play. He's press resistant, calm under pressure, uses his body to shield the ball. He's not yet a high volume progressive passer, but he combines in the build-up very well. Now this is why I think you would be a good suitable candidate for the Joelinton role, because of his positional discipline. He can drop into the back line and act as a 5 in the back line. He can anchor the midfield pivot. This allows Bruno and Tonali to express himself, but he also provides that wide coverage. He's also a proactive defender, which means you step out your line to engage early. This suits a high pressing system. And again, that's exactly what Newcastle United want. So we're going to have a look at some of his defensive actions. And as you can see, he covers that left fullback. He's happy to move into those wide areas, which is an important aspect of Joelinton's game. So like I always say, it's not about the name of the player. It's about his profile and what he can bring on the football pitch. He's extremely suited to the Joelinton role. And the fact that he's powerful, 6'2", strong, aggressive in duels, makes him an ideal candidate. Now, you haven't got to spend loads of money either. And even if you look at his passing range, you can directly see where he likes to link up midfield to attack. He likes to play towards that left-hand channel. Anthony Gordon and Alexander Isak, if he stays, would thrive. Now, one thing I will say about Magassa, he loves to switch the play. I think that's so important in the game because you're changing the point of the attack, especially when you come up against structured defenses, because you switching the play means their backline have to reshuffle. When you've got somebody as electric as Anthony Elanga, he can take advantage before they reshuffle. Now, if we take a little bit of a deeper dive into his attributes, he's played as a centre-back and a midfielder. He ranks in the 99 percentile, so the top 1 percentile for midfielders across Europe with defensive duels per 90 with 8.94, which is unbelievable. He's also been Monaco's most aggressive centre-back / midfielder. And when you watch him, he evidently has a license to jump out and win the ball back. That's exactly what Joelinton does for Newcastle United. But despite him having that license to jump out, he's also averaging 7.63 ball recoveries per 90, which has him again in the top 1 percentile for midfielders in Europe. Now, even in possession, he can do a bit as well. And when you watch him, he's clearly comfortable with the ball at his feet. He can evade pressure and is an exceptional ball carrier. Just to quickly touch upon some of his stats in possession, ball carries per 90, 31.92, which has him above the top 50 percentile. Successful take take-ons, he's averaging a 64.2%, which has him in the top 10 percentile for midfielders in Europe. Passes completed, he's averaging 46.1, which has him in the top 20 percentile for midfielders in Europe. So he's comfortable in uncomfortable situations, both with and without the ball. But as always, guys, he's not the finished article, and there is some areas for improvement. Final third impact, minimal creativity or output, limited box arrival, so he doesn't crash the box like Joelinton does. So that is something that Eddie Howe would have to coach into him. Progressive passer, although he's averaging decent progressive passes per 90, he's more of a safe passer, which isn't a bad thing because Joelinton tends to do the same. But personally, this is just me. I would like to see a little bit more line breaking in his actions. And then transitional drives when it comes to ball carrying. I would like to see a little bit more aggressiveness when he carries a ball with more forward intent, because he has the profile to do so. He's strong, tall, athletic, technically good, and has these wonderful long strides, allow him to eat up the ground. And then finally, say timing in ground duels. He commits 2.2 fouls per 90. I love how proactive he is. I love how aggressive he is. I love how he doesn't mind physical contact, but he dives in too quickly and sometimes with the wrong body shape. So Eddie Howe would just have to teach him into understanding the correct times to commit himself. So I'm just going to finish up with Magassa is a little bit less aggressive than Joelinton, but he clearly holds similar traits in playing styles. He has the engine, he has a frame to match Joelinton's pressing duties, especially in the midfield three. So he has the toolkit to evolve into a hybrid destroyer ball carrier similar to Joelinton. So if we compare the two together, it's exactly what I've been telling you. Magassa is extremely comfortable in possession, which he's averaging more touches than Joelinton, more successful take-ons. He's completing more passes, but he's averaging less progressive carries than what Joelinton does. And that was one of my weaknesses. Now, as you can see, Joelinton is also much more of a goal threat. That's why he's averaging an expected higher non-penalty goals. When it comes to tackles, clearances, interceptions, block, Magassa is an absolute monster. So if we're looking for somebody that can provide that physical presence next to Joelinton Tonali, Magassa can certainly hold up his own. My next option is somebody that's not as developed as Magassa, but certainly with the potential as Magassa with some strong, good coaching. Now, this is somebody that has been linked to Aston Villa all summer. Now, Crystal Palace just this morning have entered the race to sign him, and that is Toulouse defender, midfielder, Jaydee Canvot, 18 years old, and he stands at 6'2". Toulouse have also set an asking price of 20 million, which is an absolute bargain for a player with an upside like his. Now, again, this is somebody that shifts seamlessly between a midfielder and a centre-back, but he has the traits and the profile to thrive as a box-to-box midfielder. Now, standing at 6'2", he's physically imposing, but surprisingly agile with a blend of athleticism, technical control, and tactical versatility. So his best attributes: speed and agility. You'll be surprised at this, but he's surprisingly quick for a man of his size. He can cover the ground quickly. He can cover wide areas when defending counters. They are two key components to play the Joelinton role. Now, he's somebody with excellent defensive capabilities. He's got a wide range of defensive toolkits. It's very diverse. He can tackle, intercept, block, win shoulder-to-shoulder challenges. He's very comfortable in combative situations. He's also very comfortable and calm in possession. He's got the frame to shield the ball. Again, he's similar to Magassa. Actually, they are very similar. He's not yet a high volume progressor, but he combines well in the build-up. Now, I do think he has the attributes and the vision to be that progressive passer, but I just put it down to his lack of experience, education, and where he's at in his development. So I do expect that to grow as he grows as a footballer. Now, he's got that positional discipline. I think this is one of the most important aspects of the Joelinton role. Somebody that can drop into the back line when needs to. Somebody that can anchor the midfield pivot, but also provide that wide coverage. Jaydee Canvot can certainly do that. He's played at left centre-back. He's played at right centre-back. He's played in the midfield double pivot. He's played in the midfield three. He offers that tactical flexibility, but also that positional discipline to instruct them into different roles. So when you look at this Joelinton role, you need somebody who's strong, athletic, physical, doesn't mind winning defensive actions, comfortable in possession, but doesn't overdo things, and doesn't mind really being an unsung hero for the team. Somebody that will prevent us being countered on. So he's got to be excellent at reading defensive transitions. But again, Jaydee Canvot is only 18, only made a handful of appearances. So again, he's not very experienced. Now again, he's just like Magassa, somebody that doesn't provide that final third impact. So he's got minimal creativity and limited box arrivals. So again, he won't crash that box like Joelinton does. And just remember Old Trafford away last season when Joelinton scored that header. That's exactly what I mean. These two won't provide that. So Eddie Howe's going to have to coach that into him. Now, although this is probably down to his age, but decision making under pressure, he's really composed, comfortable in possession, but occasionally hesitates in high tempo phases. Then I've also put aerial timing in there. Now, this is a funny one because he does win a lot of headers, but it's due to his height. But his timing, when he needs to time his jump, really lets him down. Now, I might sound like I've contradicted myself here, but I've also put in positional discipline. Now, what I mean by this page, when I first started talking about his positional discipline, he's happy to go out wide. He's happy to step back in the defensive line. He's happy to anchor the midfield, but he just needs to learn the correct times to do it. And I think that comes with experience, understanding the game in certain aspects of the game, understanding what's going on around him and making a decision. Right, is this a time for me to step into the back line? Is this a correct time for me to go into the wide areas? That's what I mean. He's comfortable doing it, has the attributes to do it, but just needs to understand the tactical side of the game a little bit better. But again, he's only 18 years old. He's only made a handful of senior appearances, so that will come with more consistent game time. So how does he compare to Joelinton? Well, this is how he compares on the screen, and as you can see, he averages more touches than Joelinton. He averages more successful take-ons, so he's comfortable in possession and gets involved in the build-up a lot more than what Joelinton does, but he just needs to add that progressiveness to his game. Once you do that, you've got an elite line breaker. So what I'm trying to say is he's not a direct replacement today, but he has an upside development fit for the Joelinton role, but it would require a development plan made by Eddie Howe to allow him to expand into a box-to-box midfielder. But considering Big Joe doesn't need replacing yet, he could be the ideal understudy. Now we'll move on to the next big creative midfielder, and this is somebody that could be one of the biggest upside signings you can make today. 16 years old, and he's already thriving in Mexico. Now that I mentioned Mexico, you probably know who I mean, and that is Gilberto Mora. 16 years old, 5 goals and 9 appearances this season already, and Club Tijuana would consider any offer around 20 million. Probably one of the most smartest 20 million you will spend. So what's his attributes? Well, he shifts seamlessly between an attack midfielder, an advanced state, or a left winger. Probably, if not, Mexico's most exciting teenage prospect. Electric, instinctive, and surprisingly mature for his age. So what kind of style does he bring? What's his biggest attribute? Dribbling and flair. He's fearless in one-on-one situations with quick feet and sharp changes of direction. His low center of gravity helps him glide past defenders. What I love about him, he's got an exceptional weight of balance. He maintains momentum when sprinting and turning. Now, what do we lack in our team? Creativity, somebody that can play between the lines, somebody that's comfortable receiving consistently on the half turn. That is exactly what Gilberto Mora brings. He's got a wonderful low center of gravity, matched with his excellent close control, body balance, understanding of where the pressure is coming from, and the ability to be so super comfortable in tight spaces. Now, on top of that, he also offers positional mobility, operates fluidity across the front line. He can drift wide, he can hug the touchline depending on what the team needs, and you can see that as it's highlighted in his heat map. So his ideal systems are high tempo attacking setup, so that's like a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1, which is exactly what Newcastle United play. Teams that rely on wide overloads and quick transitions, which is exactly what Newcastle United do. Now, where do I see him playing? I think he could play that advanced state role where Bruno plays at the minute, but he's not a direct replacement right now. And the reason being is because he lacks physical and defensive instincts, which is required to play that Bruno role. So he could play the Bruno role, but he would play it slightly differently. And the reason he would play it slightly differently is because Mora is highly creative. He's not yet a rhythm setter. His game is built around flair, not control. Bruno is slightly more towards a control side, but he could certainly evolve into a hybrid false winger, advanced state, or attacking midfielder. Somebody that could offer you that tactical flexibility. Now, if I brought in somebody like Gilberto Mora, this is what I would do. I would have a multi-year development plan. I would teach him how to play that Bruno role, but I would also teach him different aspects of the game. And we change it to a 4-2-3-1 with him as an attack midfielder. I think that's where he would feel more comfortable, but you could also teach him how to play like a winger. So he offers different flexibility. Now, he's also left-footed. we don't have a left-footed player in our attacking system or our midfield, so he would offer that balance, but you would also have to give him a development plan for physical conditioning and tactical education. But the main thing you've got to do is protect his creative instincts, but build on his defensive responsibilities. Now, his statistics are absolutely crazy for a 16-year-old. He's averaging 3.45 shot creating actions per 90, which has him in the top 10% for midfielders across Europe. He's averaging 3.13 carries into the final third, which has him in the top 1% for midfielders. He's an insane ball carrier. He's got insane ball retention skills. Now, he's also averaging 0.74 carries into the opposition's penalty area, which has him again in the top 1%. He's also averaging 1.64 successful take-ons per 90, which has him in the top 96%. He is one of the biggest upside signings you can make today. Now, what I've done is I broke down his statistics as a winger / an attack midfielder to a midfielder. Now, this is him as a winger and attack midfielder. Now, the statistics don't look great, but you've got to remember he's just 16 years old, but there are a lot of pleasing and eye-catching statistics there. You can see how comfortable he is with the ball at his feet. Now, if we move it on to win it against midfielders, look at his shot creating actions, look at his non-expected goal, look at his expected assists, look at his progressive carries, his successful take-ons. He is a difference maker in that final third. So how does he compare to Bruno? And this is how he compares to Bruno as a midfielder, because Bruno's classed as a midfielder on the statistical data. But as you can see, he provides more progressive carries than Bruno, more successful take-ons, and he's not too far away from the amount of shots that Bruno's creating. But as you can see, the signs are clearly there. Now, if you can work on his defensive game, which will come with age, time, and maturity, he can be such a good asset, and his market value is just going to go up and up and up in years to come. These are the types of signings that Newcastle United should be making, especially with PSR now in situ. So there you go, guys. There's 2 possible Joelinton replacements, but also a wonder kid that we should be signing. But I want to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below what you make of all these 3 players, and even the 2 players that I mentioned at the start. But tonight is the night. Tonight is the night that we show Liverpool that we are a big football club. You know what? I was thinking today, I just want a good performance. I want our players to leave no stone unturned. I want them to put everything into this game. If they do that, I cannot complain. But again, don't forget to let me know your predictions in the below. And if you've enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And before I leave, I just want to say good luck to all the boys tonight. Let's get 3 points. Let's make a statement win. And final thing I've got to say, away the lads.